All right, so today we are going to talk about questions that I'm getting from the community, but specifically the NIL community. So parents, players, people are reaching out because we have a program called the Owner's Blueprint. And so what some people don't realize is we work with student athletes as well. So in the financial tip, all of the things that we're teaching to the regular people, we're also teaching to our NIL student athletes. And so that's one of the things that we do, not only at TCU, but OU, Virginia Tech, and San Diego State University as well. Shout out to my boy Joey at Elbow Golf for the fly gear. Good to see you, brother. All right, so the first question we got was, what is NIL and how can I benefit? So essentially NIL, well, not essentially, it is name, image, likeness. Now, it's a law that was passed that allows a student athlete to be able to be compensated for their name, image, or likeness. So that's things like their signature, that's things like their jerseys, that's things like them being able to show up on commercials. So back in the day, players were getting paid, but it was under the table. Now they've legalized it, and so student athletes can be compensated legally. Number two, how much money can I realistically make? Now, TCU is a private institution, so there's a lot of private money that goes into that NIL collective, and I'll talk about collectives in just a second. But on average, I would say around $1,000 is what most student athletes, and that's across the board, not TCU specifically, but just across the board, a student athlete can assume that they're going to make anywhere from $5,000 to $1,000 per month. Now, of course, you have named athletes at higher levels. A guy like Caleb, who got $1 million a year. You got guys like anyway. People are making money out there, but the average person is going to make about $1,000. All right, so I mentioned NIL collectives. So an NIL collective is basically when you have alumni, you have booster groups, you have pools of people who are coming together to put money into an NIL deal or a pool. And then from there, they can actually use that money to go out and get players. A perfect example of this is Mark Cuban. So Mark Cuban, who went to the University of Indiana, put a bunch of money into their pool, and guess what? They got Freddie Mendoza, and it turned into a championship for him. So these collectives are getting bigger and bigger, and it allows them to go out and get more and more players. So a question we got from one of our players, he said, do I need to be like super popular on social media? Well, it helps, but not necessarily. You see, your game is going to speak more volumes than the people liking your, Instagram clips. So it's more important, I would say, focus on your game. Make sure that you're, top 5 in the position that you're applying to, go play D1 at. And from there, things will kind of matriculate and all coalesce and come together for you. All right, number 5, how do I legally structure a deal or a contract? Well, first of all, you want to make sure that you have someone that can review your contract. If you reach out to us, we have some lawyers that we could pass you on to, people that we trust, people that we've worked with before. But you want to make sure that you understand every single line item in your contract. The reason why is because we've seen contracts be kind of written fugazi. And when the player actually is looking for funds to come through, a portion of that is going to this person and that person, and this you don't want that. You want to understand your contract so that if you sign it and you agree that money goes over here, over there, over there, that's fine. But we don't want you to be surprised about it. So you want to make sure you have someone that can give you legal counsel and that understands the NIL landscape, because it's totally new and it's totally different than what we've seen previously. Number 6, are there restrictions on the types of deals? Yeah, they are. It depends on what state you're in. It depends on what school you go to. It depends on the rules that school has put in place. Like I mentioned, we work with TCU, right? So TCU being a private institution, they can do some things that a public institution cannot because, again, they're publicly, if it's a public university, they're getting money from the government. And so they have to, adhere to certain rules. But if it's a private institution, sometimes they write their own rules. So yeah, it definitely depends. Do I need to report my NIL deal? And so I'm assuming that this person was talking about, like, do I report it to the IRS? So yeah, you want to make sure you report it to the IRS. In Division One, many NIL deals, they fall between like the 5 to 1,000 range, like I mentioned before. And so anything that's over 600 or more, you have to report to the NCAA. So if you go and, this restaurant over here is giving you $600 to do commercials or different things like that for them, yes, you definitely have to report that. So since I talked about earnings being taxed, let's talk a little bit more about that, right? So NIL income is taxable. And that's one of the things that we've been seeing guys kind of getting in trouble with, right? Because they'll wait 2 or 3 years. They've never filed taxes before. They're just getting the money. They don't really understand. So, yes, you want to have a tax professional that you work with. We have a CPA. I wouldn't necessarily see that you need someone on that level, but you want to have a tax professional that you're working with so you can make sure that what is taxable is paid to the IRS, because you don't want them coming back later and trying to get that money, okay? Number 9, how does NIL affect financial aid? It can affect your need-based aid or your scholarships, so you want to be careful about that, right? So again, you want to have some legal counsel. You want to have someone at the financial aid office actually take a look at your contract. Now, don't just go and talk to any Tom, Dick, and Hank about this, right? You want to make sure you're talking to someone at an upper level that can make decisions and give you the right determination on what it is that you should do in regards to the scholarship or the financial aid. Now, it depends on how much you're getting. For instance, there's a quarterback, I won't call his name because I don't want to count somebody else's money, but he's making $7 million a year. So he's probably not worried about financial aid. But if you're on that lower end where you're making $500 or $600, it may affect your financial aid. So you want to be aware of that. Number 10, what happens to my NIL deal if I transfer or get injured? It all depends. So some contracts are ironclad, meaning that they are guaranteed contracts, meaning if you get hurt, if you're on injured reserve, if you're on academic probation, any of those things happen, you still get paid. Then there's contracts that are written that says if you're not on the field, if you're not practicing 3 times a week, you get nada, or you're going to get a lesser amount than you imagined that you were going to get, right? So the thing to remember is everything is going to be specific to the school. Everything's going to be specific to your contract. So you want to be aware of all those things going into it. If you decide you're going to transfer, make sure that you wait for the contract date to expire with your current school before you sign a new NIL deal or decide to transfer it to another institution, because there could be some legalities that you have to surf if you're going to do that. I appreciate people getting really serious and wanting to understand how the NIL deals work. You can reach out to us on the Owner's Blueprint. I want you to continue to work on your game, continue to think about what you want to achieve, and that NIL money can become generational wealth for you, okay? All right, think and grow rich. We'll see you next time.